Alright. So, if, yeah, this is SP here, and I already fucked the intro up, but that's fine. Yeah, this is gonna be a new little thing I do where, I record myself talking while I hold a shitty phone shaking. Speaking of the phone dilemma, I had a fucking, my phone cracked a screen, at fucking work, so, I ended up having to deal with the warranty repair bullshit with that. So I have a temporary garbage phone I got from fucking oh god, one of those fucking mall places. And yeah, it's a cheap Chinese Samsung ripoff, but it's working for the week I need it. But yeah, so if it sounds like shit and the quality's shit, that's why. It's a cheap ass Chinese phone. But anyways, enough about that. The topic I wanted to talk about today is the recent bullshit with the gun community, especially online, and the Lpvo drama. Personally, I've used a lot of low-end Lpvos. I've used some mid-tier Lpvos, and I've used some high-end Lpvos. I wished I could fucking own them, like the fucking... I should have got one of the... EOTech Voodoo 1-8s when they were fucking more affordable, but I didn't. I fucked around and waited. But I am currently right now reviewing the Burris RT6, which is about a $400 1-6 optic, which I'm really liking. I love the reticle in it. It's a first focal plane Lpvo, and for $400, it's excellent. You know, it's great. But yeah, besides that, everything has its flaws, guys. Like, you're not going to find one thing in the gun world, or one thing and really anything, rather, that does everything perfectly. And that's a thing. Everything's a compromise in one way or another. You know, H&K can say no compromise all they want, but some of their guns, they have compromises, you know, not in durability or quality, but, you know, they do. Like, the polymer frame itself on like all their modern pistols is kind of a compromise in a lot of ways. But that's just how it is. Everything has its downsides. You know, I love the AK. It runs in friggin' most conditions, extremely well with no maintenance. You can treat it like shit. You can ignore it. Unprofessional armies can use it because it can run without maintenance, really. But it has downsides. I mean, it's hard to mount optics because of the dust cover situation, although Zenitco rail systems, and I hear the TWS, I've had a TWS Gen 2 that did fine with red dots, but I've never really trusted it for magnified optics. But I hear the Gen 3s are fine for them, and AKOU has positive stuff. So, I mean, there's that, but from the ground up, it's harder to mount optics, and it's harder to, you know, the guns, you know, it's a early Cold War era firearm. So it's going to have the drawbacks of that era. Now, can you train around the drawbacks? Absolutely. Like there's no, get you an RS regulate set up and you're fucking great and get optics on it. You know, ARs, they have the drawbacks too, where once again, if they're maintained, they run great in most conditions. Now they do have a little problem with ice and water, especially if they're like fucking fired underwater, they will explode. But that's just to deal with the Stoner internal piston / DI system, whatever the fuck you want to call it, so you don't get upset. But yeah, everything's got compromises. Personally, like, I think the buffer system in the AR is its biggest compromise. I don't like it that much because of I just don't like the springiness under the cheek. Like, that's my thing. It's not as bad of a thing on actual, like, full stock rifles, but the collapsible M4 stocks always are real springy. At least in my experience. Might be different for you. It also depends on the buffer, but most of the ARs I've ran are running mil spec shit. So, I mean, it's the military rifle. Don't really I've never run real high end, like custom buffers and stuff that might help that, but whatever. It's based on the military setup. But yeah, that's the thing is Lpvos are they going to be great for your battle rifle? Like on your fucking 18.5 inch PTR set me or 18.5 inch, fucking, AR or maybe AR-10 you got, maybe you got a, DSA FAL, any battle rifles, I would recommend a 2-10 because if you have to shoot at 800 yards or meters, which is around the effective range of 308, 7.62 NATO, starts dropping off pretty good past that, you might get into some parallax issues with LPVOs. And that's just a simple thing. I consider an LPVO an intermediate scope for an intermediate rifle. Like, I would have no problem putting one on my A2 clone. I would have no problem putting one on any of my AKs or my M4 clones. I would have no problem putting them on my fucking 300 Blackout AR build either. Anything that's intermediate, really, it's going to do fine on. Styrog, I'd love to get one and put a LPVO on it. It's an intermediate scope for an intermediate rifle. You shouldn't really be using an LPVO past probably 600 meters. And I kind of think that's why the 1-10s maybe are a little bit silly. I think the 1-8s are about where you kind of want to stop with an LPVO. If you need anything more than 8 power, you probably should just run a 2-10, especially if you have a battle rifle that has that kind of range. But yeah, I think LPVOs are totally fine, and most of my intermediate rifles will have them because I've struggled with red dots at long ranges because of I have astigmatism, and a lot of red dots, or whatever the fuck you say it, the eye disease where red dots look blurry. That's what we'll say. They look like grape clusters, and they look bigger than they actually are to me. So I fucking struggle with them past like 150 yards, really. So that's why I like them, because I know, and you're not going to get true 1X either, so they're not going to replace a red dot completely. But I generally think they're close enough that it doesn't matter that much. They might slow you down a touch if you were like in room clearing distance or something. The magnification might, but I don't think it's that much of a big deal to where it's, and if it is, you can just run a red dot on a fucking piggyback mount or an offset mount, and then just tilt the rifle over to your red dot or whatever, if you need to, whether you're running it on an AK or AR, as long as you have the rail space or whatever you need to do that. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. That would be probably the best thing, but there's nothing wrong with LPVOs, especially for their intended purpose. I've harvested many game animals out to probably 300 meters. I've not shot really, honestly, anything farther than that. And I don't like to shoot at game animals really farther than 300 meters because I don't believe, I lose faith in my ability to make humane hits, especially with lighter cartridges at that range. But yeah, LPVOs are fine, and I don't know why there's a big fucking rage about them. Is next all magnified and optics are going to be shit, or are we going to go back to the carry handle, iron sights on ARs and fucking, knit comrade, no fucking modernization on AKs? Is that the new thing? No rails, just fucking going back to the 70s. I guess that's going to be the new trend. But, yeah, so nothing wrong with LPVOs. Get one that you like, and I'll have the RT6 review, the Burris RT6 review up in a little bit. I'm actually taking it hunting, and I'll try to get some footage from that. But yeah, I mean, the Vortex Strike Eagle is kind of the entry level LPVO, and even it's not too bad. I mean, I like the Burris. I think the Burris RT6 for a little bit more money is a better optic, but other than that, yeah, LPVOs are fine for what they're intended for. They're not going to take you out to 1,000 meters, and they're not going to be a true 1X. But if you realize that they're a compromise for a medium range rifle, then why not? They're excellent for that role. I mean, if you could shoot and get accurate hits, if you were confident in yourself with a red dot, then yeah, I don't see why you'd use LPVO if you thought most threats or animals, whatever, are under 300 meters. But I mean, you do have the advantage of magnification if you need it with the LPVO. But yeah, I've gone on long enough. I think the industry is full of people that like to knee jerk and that don't shoot their guns, and that they don't find these things out. Like, if everyone actually shot their fucking LPVOs they got mounted on their Scar H's they fucking bought for Instagram and maxed out a 6K credit card on, then yeah, I mean, yeah, if you actually shot that at 1,000 yards, you might, or, you know, say 800 meters, you might find out that the parallax is shitty on LPVOs, and you might find out that that 1 to 10 LPVO you bought and, you know, dropped $800 on it's not what you really want. And that's fine. It's just, you got to test what your setup is before you fucking like complain about it. Or before you even buy it, really. Like try to go to a range and rent a gun or shoot a buddy's gun that has something set up and find what you like. I know that's asking a lot for, like, you know, I'm very fucking rural, so there's hardly anyone out here that, you know, I could go to like a shooting range with or whatever. But yeah, test your setup, guys. And I mean, don't really worry about what people on the internet say. Do what works best for you. Unless it's obviously not working. But yeah, ran over, I guess.